I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
They're pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
The Snow White version is woke and feminist and progressive.
Rachel Zegler, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infertility is the only global solution.
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
Of course, like with everything on the left these days, they just take it too far.
It just doesn't make any sense.
It makes a little bit more sense.
You can gaslight people so easily.
Yes.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
Nobody wants a movie about true love? What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? It's the outrage.
So the two stars hate each other.
Now, I'm guessing that she's not married. I'm guessing that she doesn't have kids. The movie is a complete disaster, by the way.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
So apparently, according to them and according to the writers of Snow White, women can't even want to be in love anymore.
Give a smug actress and a woke agenda full control of a fairy tale, and you don't just risk a flop, you guarantee a full-scale disaster. But what if I told you this wasn't just another Hollywood miss? What if the failure was so fast, so massive, that even insiders saw it coming before the first ticket sold? Snow White's live-action remake didn't stumble. It face-planted. $200 million burned in record time. It vanished before most people could even mumble bibbidi-bobbidi-boom. But here's where it gets wild. The real story isn't just how it failed, it's how no one stopped it.
Snow White gets her name, not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know. She gets her name from surviving a snowstorm.
This wasn't just a flop, it was a crash landing we all watched in real time. But who lit the fuse? Rachel Zegler, armed with ego and zero filter, did more damage in interviews than any bad trailer could. Disney doubled down with a rewrite no one wanted, gutting the original to push a new agenda. And while the movie was already struggling, the backlash hadn't even started yet. That came after release. And when it hit, it wasn't just loud, it was nuclear. If you're enjoying the story so far, hit that like button so YouTube can show it to more people like you.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
The fairy tale didn't just lose its charm, it lost its entire foundation. What was meant to be a magical return turned into a jumbled, soulless reboot. But the more you dig into the wreckage, the clearer it gets. This wasn't one mistake. It was a domino effect, each decision worse than the last. And you won't believe how deep the damage actually goes.
If you've ever trusted a first reaction by anybody in the media, please go look at the list of names of people who hyped this up as a good movie and make sure you never take their opinions seriously ever again.
The movie has a major identity crisis.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension. Racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
The movie is doing catastrophically. They spent $300 million and it currently has a 2.2 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
Disney thought they had a guaranteed win. Nostalgia plus a big name equals big money, right? They were betting on a $150 million opening weekend, confident that Zegler's star power would carry it. Instead, it tanked. Just $43 million in the US. No lines, no hype, no magic. But why did audiences turn away? That's where it gets messy. Zegler had already mocked the 1937 original, calling it weird and outdated, like she was too good for it. Then in 2024, dropped a political rant that flipped the internet, and fans didn't forget.
So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
President Rachel Zegler also posted, F Trump kinds of posts on social media. She also said that she hoped that Trump supporters, quote, never know peace.
And then she came out and she said, I apologize. Like, I went too far, but it wasn't sincere.
That moment, it blew the lid off everything. Megyn Kelly went straight for the throat. Fire this brat, she said, and suddenly the outrage had a face. Boycott calls tore through X like wildfire. Zegler wasn't just a miscast. She became the reason people refused to watch. She's why I'm skipping it, one fan posted. Can't stand her. Disney thought her boldness would bring buzz, but instead it turned into a warning label and cost them millions.
She's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Oh my God.
This This wasn't a reboot, it was a dismantling. The heart of Snow White, the kindness, love, and wonder was erased and replaced with a cold, preachy message no one asked for. Zegler had mocked the romance back in 2022, calling it unnecessary. Disney followed her lead. The prince, reduced to a nearly invisible side character with no weight, no purpose, and no charm. But the most damaging changes weren't even on screen yet.
Prince Charming in the traditional fairy tale and in the 1937 movie has been replaced by a common...
Even the evil queen got caught in the rewrite. Her iconic obsession with beauty was replaced by a vague power struggle that had zero emotional impact. Disney tried to modernize the message but ended up stripping out everything that made the original beloved. And when it came to the music, that was the final straw. The new songs were unfocused, flat, and instantly forgettable, missing both the magic and the melody. Still watching? Then you're exactly who this channel's for. Subscribe now. We break down the stories Hollywood doesn't want you talking about.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level? What does that mean?
The original Snow White didn't just tell a story, it sang one. Songs like Hi-Ho and Someday My Prince Will Come became timeless. But in the remake, that melody was lost. The new soundtrack didn't elevate the story, it dragged it down. Tracks clashed with tone, lacked identity, and failed to carry emotion. And just when fans expected a nostalgic hit, all they got was noise.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely atrocious.
Rachel Zegler has pipes. Her West Side Story performance proved that. But in Snow White, her vocals couldn't save lyrics that felt like first drafts. Lines like, "Your voice will carry through," came off like Pinterest quotes. And songs like Mirrors Lie dragged with no payoff. Jito's vocals added polish, but not purpose. Then came the backlash. YouTube flooded with comments like, "This isn't a musical, it's a lecture." And Zegler's 2023 claim that the songs were modern, not corny, it landed like a jab at the classics, one that critics weren't ready to forgive.
There's no life lesson to be had here, and instead it gets replaced with something far more sinister. They make a revisionist Marxist call to arms, where it is Disney's closest film to paraphrasing the Communist Manifesto, and it does.
Snow White is the fairest of them all because she has these communist sensibilities to share all resources with the farmers that till the land, and she got those sensibilities from her mother and her father.
Tone matters, and in this version, the tone screamed message over magic. The prince wasn't just background, he was erased. Why? Because Zegler herself had labeled him a stalker. Disney backed her take, rewriting the male lead into near oblivion. Meanwhile, the dwarfs were turned into laborers, and Snow White became a preacher of empowerment. But that shift came at a cost. The fairy tale charm was completely buried.
Now you wash the dishes. You tidy up the room. You clean those cobwebs. And he'll use the broom. Whistle while you work. And cheerfully together we can tidy up the place.
In the original Snow White, she cleans the cottage after woodland animals take her there. When she learns the 7 dwarves live there, she offers to cook and clean the place for them as a sign of her gratitude. But in this one, she breaks in and then forces the dwarves to clean for her. So clearly the Barbie screenwriter they hired to write this film thinks that this is a clever kind of role reversal. Funny that making a feminist version of a character always means, in practice, just turning her into an unpleasant, unlikable nag.
The modern empowered Snow White won't even allow domestic labor carried out by herself. Instead, she orders the dwarves to tidy up themselves, even when they've had a hard day down the mine.
It's their house.
But it's so obvious now because of the blight of intersectionality that's spread throughout our entire society that we can't have a woman holding a broom. Not that Rachel Zegler would know what to do with a broom.
What used to be a love story now screamed a new message. Men don't matter. And it wasn't subtle. Zegler doubled down saying, this isn't about some guy saving her. The idea of a hero? Dismissed. Fans weren't just annoyed, they were furious. The feedback was loud, too much girl boss, not enough fairy tale. And just when people thought it couldn't drift further from the original,
they should have just dropped it like every other steaming pile of dog shit they put on Disney Plus.
The dwarfs, the heart of the supporting cast, were next. Originally, Disney planned to stay true by casting little person actors. But then, in 2022, Peter Dinklage spoke out, and everything changed. What followed wasn't an update, it was an erasure.
They couldn't put dwarfs finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. That many scripts that come down the pike.
No, it's 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven. Dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
They're remaking the movie. They just got rid of the dwarfs.
Okay, but what do they call them?
Why would they get rid of the dwarves, though?
Magical
creatures. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it.
The 7 dwarfs of Snow White have, of course, all just disappeared, and now they're the 7 dysfunctional men.
They didn't just change the dwarfs, they deleted them. In their place, a strange mix of mismatched men with zero connection to the original charm. No unique identities, no warmth, just a group that felt hastily written and weirdly out of place.
They were too offensive because the most famous dwarf of all, Peter Dinklage, said something negative about it back in 2022, thus ruining the biggest acting roles the dwarfs had ever seen since the creation of Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas back in the 1970s.
Argument should have been from Peter Dinklage. There's power of being on TV. There's power of television. And to put 7 people with dwarfism on camera in a major Disney movie, there's still power there. If the story is offensive, change the story. Don't change the characters.
They couldn't have dwarves. Do you guys remember?
Yeah, because Peter Dinklage and all them were talking crap.
So originally they
took a picture of what the dwarves were supposed to look like.
I can find it, but it was an array. It was the DEI
dwarves.
Yep. They had to reshoot the film and use CGI dwarves. There
so
you go.
Those guys didn't make it.
No.
That guy's 6'2". That's sleepy, that's drunky, that's cokehead.
But what? You're joking.
They look like Santa's helpers.
And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Then came the CGI swap. Disney's attempt to modernize backfired. Instead of lovable characters, fans got glowing digital creatures that looked like something out of a budget video game. Leaked clips showed them cleaning while Snow White stood by like a bossy foreman. After Backlash, reshoots tried to salvage it, replacing them with diverse bandits. But the confusion only deepened. The result was a visually awkward, soulless edit no one connected with.
By the way, is not a good actress, never should have been cast for this role. I mean, you could just look at her, you say, that's not Snow White. I mean, come on.
Just in, an enormous cultural failure, Disney's Snow White, which cost $250 million, raked in a miserable $43 million during its premiere, and that's from the AP. Imagine if you guys just made entertainment sake for the sake of entertainment.
And then the audience vanished. Opening weekend was supposed to be magical. Kids in costumes, families packing theaters, nostalgia in the air. Instead, just $87.3 million, far below the $150 million needed to break even. Zegler's repeated digs at the original and her Trump rant didn't just hurt, they alienated. The fairy tale feel was gone, replaced with moral lectures and social statements. Parents were frustrated, kids were bored. One mom put it best, "My daughter wanted songs, not speeches." The numbers confirmed it. Merch didn't move. Theaters sat half empty. And Disney's own data showed a 60% drop in family attendance compared to Cinderella. The magic had vanished. Now, insiders say Disney is scrambling. With stock dipping 3%, remake plans frozen, and layoffs rumored, things are tense behind the scenes. Zegler, she's reportedly on the chopping block for Hunger Games. Some are even calling her box office poison. They handed her a classic. She tore it down. And now Disney's left with nothing but the rubble and a fan base that's walking away. Thanks for watching.